Hey, my name is John Harris. I am Marissa Kelly's co-host on the Resilient Events podcast. She is head of production at Be Present Events, and I am CEO of Buzzet Event Sites. Today, I got an interesting topic, just kind of addressing what the heck is hybrid.
Hmm.
And so we at Buzzet, we've defined it into like 6 different formats, and I want to walk through 3 of those with you today.
Wow, three, six formats,
Yeah.
and we won't keep you much longer than 32 minutes, I think, maybe. Let's aim for that. This topic came up because obviously hybrid events are still happening. Actually, a story I need to share. One of my long-term clients had been doing virtual for the last year and a half, and I just got an email this week saying that they're doing hybrid in March of next year. So
Nice.
it's definitely happening, and it's still going to happen. People are
I,
not going to
I
go
wonder
ahead.
which format it'll be.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're
I
going to
don't know.
find out. By the end of
Yeah.
this episode, maybe we'll be able to define it.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so the 6 formats that we put together at Buzzet, they're just things that we've seen happening recently with our clients. And one thing to say, like, see, people think of hybrid as something like that must be ridiculously expensive or complicated. It doesn't really have to be. You can go back to a couple of our previous episodes to look there. But some of these formats, they cost $0. Um, Most of them use tech that you're already familiar with. All of them, they help you deliver more to the audience. They help you grow your impact instead of just having in-person events or just online events, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think the most important thing to start with, something we always talk about, is remote engagement, right?
What's
Um,
that?
yeah, that's where your show is interesting for people that aren't on site,
Right.
because what you don't want to do is what we call security cam hybrid.
Oh my
That's where
gosh.
you point a camera and a microphone at the stage and let people view it from around the world, and that is not fun. So there's no engagement, there's no interaction, no recognition that they're there. It's basically pointless. So if you can do it if you want, but if you do it, just don't call it hybrid and then complain that hybrid isn't good.
Yes. Or don't call it
Sure.
live stream. Well, come watch the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you're watching a live stream. You're watching a webcam
Yeah.
in a better quality. My dad used to watch like webcams like of the surf because he's a surfer, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no need for engagement. There's no like surf report. It's like he's analyzing what's on the screen. That's it.
Yeah.
But people are equating that now to a hybrid event or a live event, and I'm like, no, it's not the same.
It's a webcam.
Yeah, webcam.
First one ever was, I believe, odd factoid. I think it was of a first live stream ever was of a coffee pot.
Oh,
Yeah, at
nice.
a at a
What year was
university,
that?
and the people set it up. It was like in the 90s sometime. The people set it up so they could tell if there was coffee without having to go to the coffee room.
That is that is awesome. I like that. I'm
Yeah.
a huge coffee person. I know you are too. So, anyway, so you brought up. I said, what is remote engagement, and I always, and I think we talk about this a lot is being able to pitch these things and talk about these new ideas to people who are not familiar with our industry. And so, we're going to dive into remote engagement because it's necessary. Three types, 3 pillars of remote engagement.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll simplify what that means. So,
Sure. So yeah, interactive, integrated, and equitable. I couldn't figure out a way to start the third one with an I and make it still make sense. I'm sorry, everyone. But so interactive, like there has to be some people need to be participating in some
right.
way, right? So you could be taking questions from the audience,
Does
having
it
the.
have to be live for it to qualify as remote engagement?
I don't
Like,
think so,
no, right?
because you could
Right.
still take questions in advance and have people answer them, right?
Right. And I think that's a good strategy if you're not sure who is going to show up live, right? If you have not done a good enough promotion or you are not sure if you're not taking registrations, sometimes with the live events on social, you don't really know who's going to show up until right when it's live.
Right.
But you can still showcase that it is interactive. by doing Q&A ahead of time, or like asking for questions, or, trying to get the audience engaged, to show up or wanting to show up.
Right. Yeah, chat, another option. Obviously, like the people are familiar with this. But it's hard to, like, if you're using Zoom, hard to call it a chat because all you see is like text going by. It's like you're on a 1990s text editor and things keep popping up. It's like it's hard to tell that it's people, right?
Yeah.
But that I suppose like has to be live. But rewatching them with live, I think that rewatching, if it's a recorded session, rewatching with the chat kind of scrolling by from
Mm-hmm.
the live audience is good too.
Right.
Um,
Polling,
yeah,
live polling.
yeah, polling can also be fun if it's targeted well. Like uh, polling, sometimes it's just done horribly wrong, right? It's just
It's
like
done to be done because they listened to this podcast or saw some PDF saying you should do polling, and they,
wanted to use a feature. Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah.
has to be like something you would actually ask the in-person audience. And yeah, I think that kind of leads us into the next thing. So like the next pillar of integrated is having like one set of interaction tools that everybody's using at the same time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh yeah, like there's different tools that you can have. I've seen like, okay, you're watching this now, click on this link and like answer a poll, or like vote in this, vote to who wins the pitch competition, but you have to like go out of the screen, and then, it's like, oh, this is like, you could lose someone. I mean, I've jumped off because of that.
Yeah.
Change the screen, gone, or like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like if you're in an in-person event, it says go outside and vote for your winner. Well, if you go outside, like I'm like,
You're not there. That's a good
I'm
comparison,
gone.
actually.
I'm like,
Everyone get
oh,
up and leave the room. Don't get distracted.
yeah,
And come back. Yeah, anybody running an event would never do that in person, right?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and then using just like the one set of interaction tools for people so that so that you're not just throwing in random things for the online audience that you think might keep them there, right?
mm-hmm,
It should just be stuff that the in-person audience is going to do anyway. So like on
right,
Buzzit event sites, when you make one site, it can be used by the people with their mobile phones that are on site, and people can watch the stream and do everything interactive on one page from home,
mm-hmm, right,
right?
exactly,
Um, and then to go with that, to like set that up, you have to have like one run of show. And this is what for like I think in general for hybrid events, for like at least single track, don't like separate the in-person audience from the on-site audience. It's so much
mm-hmm,
harder to manage. You have to have like two room hosts instead of one. I just, and that's where it gets complicated, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, then I love when people are like, "Oh, we might do hybrid," and I'm like, "Okay, well, if you do hybrid, like it has to be a hybrid event. It can't be two separate events with two different runs of show, two different hosts, two different, you know. It has to be truly hybrid, or you just have a security cam webcam
Yeah.
hybrid event, and there's no interaction at all, which is
Yeah.
just,
And if
that might
any,
actually be okay if they don't have a good integrated tool, right?
yeah,
You can reuse that video later on, but
right. And then, yeah, if people are trying to think of like how you would make the hybrid event, like how you'd line those two up. Like, for example, like having the hybrid should, or the remote should generally be shorter and more like compressed, right? So it'd be like your main show.
mm-hmm,
Whereas like the pre-event networking, pre-event trade show, kind of post-event networking could be just for the on-site attendees, for example,
right,
right?
right,
You still have, while everybody's on stage, you still have one run of the show.
yes. I
Um,
love that concept of like not feeling like you have to share every single piece of content and concept of your on-site event with the online audience, because it's like the attention span is different, and if there's no integration or interaction or engagement, then it's like, oh, well, what's the point of sitting here for 8 hours?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
You can't just put up a "we will be back soon" while everybody on site networks for 20 minutes, right? Probably nobody will make it through.
Or,
Um,
and some people, like you asked the question when I was pitching potentially a client with doing a remote event? Like, do they really want breakout rooms? Like, is that going to be beneficial for the attendees? And, sometimes the answer is no. People just think they have to do it because they're like, we have to engage them. Well, maybe they don't want to,
This blog
you
I
know?
read said to do it. Um, Yeah, final pillar, equitable.
Yes.
And so by this, it's, I mean, like going like one step further for the
Mm-hmm.
offsite attendees. So like if you're doing Q&A, try to favor the people that are offsite. So just so
Mm-hmm.
that they can see their name come up on screen, they can hear their question read out,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If people are on site, there's enough going on that they're not going to feel bad about it, right?
Right. Right.
Um, Other things you can do. So if you're using something like StreamYard to do it, you can display their questions on screen. Using
Mm-hmm.
something like Buzzit, you can display their profiles when you're asking those questions, so that they can
Mm-hmm.
like, and they can see that they can have. It's like they can have a virtual presence themselves
Mm-hmm.
uh, at the on-site event.
Make it worth their while. We talked
Yeah,
about this in a past episode. Like, am I showing up to this event if you're not even going to acknowledge me? So,
right. And then one thing like that's can be tough is for online attendees, they almost will never get to talk to that speaker directly, like somebody on site. So what we
mm-hmm.
have seen people do is set up like private rooms afterwards, where the speaker will spend like 15 minutes on like a Zoom breakout room with
Mm-hmm.
somebody after the stream, or with a whole group of people after the stream, so that people do get that chance to actually ask questions directly for that speaker.
Yeah, and it can be. I mean, I'm doing a virtual kickoff today for an in-person event in November, and it's like, okay, like they're engaging them a month and a half almost ahead of time. It's one-on-one access to the speakers that they may not get. You know, that's building hype. I think
Yeah,
for a kickoff, so that's pretty cool. Doesn't have to be the same day. It could be before.
got it. Um, and yeah, so jumping into those, that's those three pillars of remote engagement. So interactive, integrated, equitable.
Hmm.
For the first hybrid format, gonna go easy on everybody and go hybrid
Yes,
classic.
hybrid classic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hybrid classic, it's just like I could just ask you, Marissa, like, what do you imagine when you think hybrid?
Um, I think of a good, very single track event where it's a short event. It's very like, there's not like a lot of hoopla. It's just kind of like, we're just going to make sure that I can watch the stream, the audio is clear, and there's not like a lot of requirement for me to spend my time there or engage. It's more so like I'm gonna watch something that's like security cam, like, and there's not a lot of requirement from me. And maybe it's a free event or something that like might not really necessarily need to like I need something out of it. It's more so like, okay, I'm gonna look at this event.
So that's what you think when you think hybrid?
For hybrid classic, that's like
Okay.
very basic,
Yeah.
like not.
Well, I would say security cam hybrid doesn't quite count as hybrid classic. That's my opinion. I'd say that's
eh,
security cam. That's a what do you say? That's a webcam. Uh, I would say for
yeah.
hybrid classic, for like to be truly hybrid, I think that you need to have a good live stream, like with good audio, and some kind of interaction.
I think I said or misunderstood what you were saying. I'm not expecting that's coming from me.
Yeah,
Hybrid classic
yeah,
doesn't need to be like super engaging, but someone who's an attendee, like, okay, like we need to have like a bunch of things. So I don't know. I come from a different necessity when it
fair.
comes to being hybrid classic. So you can take that for what it's worth.
Sure. Yeah, in general, I would just say hybrid classic is like an on-site, a mainly on-site event with
Hmm.
a live stream and some interaction, right?
Yes.
That's like what I think most people kind of imagine when they think of that.
Hmm.
And so who this really works for? So organizations with like primarily local audiences and speakers, right?
Hmm.
Um, who can really work for is like for example, Volition Events uses this format in Vancouver, and the reason is Vancouver traffic sucks. So a lot of their attendees, a lot of their clientele live in the downtown core. So a lot of their speakers can make it, their attendees can make it, but for a good number of people live like over an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are even in different countries, but like the main focus is local. But by adding the remote experience, it really adds something to it for their reach.
Yeah, I was just thinking about an idea because, like, if you have a really good um, local presence or someone that's like a local celebrity or good community partner, there's a woman who does live streams, and this is not like a virtual event, so to say, but she does live streams from an in-person event to get people to go down to the event, and she interviews like the
Nice.
vendors and stuff like that. And so like that to me is hybrid classic. Like she's really being engaging with the people, but there's not like a big like, okay, I'm going to sell tickets to this event, I'm going to sell products. It's more so like, let's just have some good energy on this live stream and good audio, and that's what it is. Like that to me is a hybrid format, but traditionally not what you would call a hybrid event, because she's not set up like that. She's just like, let's go live. Let's
Yeah.
engage with people.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to see who's here? Cool. But like there's no
Yeah.
it's not
Interesting.
one organization, so to say. More like community engagement.
Yeah. Um, Next format would be reverse hybrid. So I first saw this, and nobody's going to guess this one, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's if you just think of hybrid classic, it's kind of backwards. So hybrid classic is like in person, mainly in person speakers, and like definitely having remote attendees. Reverse hybrid is the opposite, so having like only on site attendees but having remote speakers.
Mm, yeah.
Got it. And it's kind of weird to like think where you might need this specifically, but like so who this worked for when we first saw it was working with the University of Notre Dame's Idea Center. So they have a bunch of students that want to join startup teams, and a lot of the startup founders that are pitching to get students to join them are coming in from like all over the country. So they're graduates. They're pitching from like every state and a lot of different countries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so by having that set up, they were able to make that match without without just having to do like one online events. They got like for their on-site for their like on-campus experience, they ought to have like an exciting event where everybody got to meet each other as much as possible, which was
Mm-hmm.
obviously way better than a Zoom event. But
Right.
they at the same time they didn't have to people didn't have to fly in, which was amazing.
That's a cool concept, because I think a lot of people don't think about that part. Like they just wouldn't do an event, or you're right, they would do a Zoom meeting. Let's meet everyone virtually and let's hope that everyone, gets something out of it. But I think that integrating the in person, you're also inspiring that particularly that audience, like the people that want to join startup teams or like that are inspired by the startup community. They definitely want to get some type of interaction, because most startup people are behind a computer or a laptop most of their day. So,
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun one to help set up. And
mm-hmm.
like different like tips, like how to make that easier. Number one is pre-record those speaker sessions.
Yes.
uh, because when people are tuning in from all over the country and like all over the world, you never know what their internet connection is going to be like. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have like 20 people coming on for a couple minutes each, like good luck getting 20 for 20 to
Mm-hmm.
work. So by
Yeah.
getting them to just each submit a video in advance, and then that presentation isn't live, but it's crisp. And then have those people attend online so that they can
Mm-hmm.
chat, answer questions in the Q&A, etc. And then the event that we did this with, they also set up, each speaker had a separate Zoom room set up. So
Nice.
if the on-site attendees wanted, they could go and join that Zoom room like directly after on their laptops.
It gives an incentive also to um, attend. Like you're not just watching speakers and then going, and hopefully they're being able to join their teams. You're like getting that one-on-one
Yeah.
um, access, so to say.
Yeah, it was a fun one. And so finally, number three,
Mm-hmm.
after party hybrid. It's the easiest, it's the lowest cost, it's the most fun.
Yes.
And so this is where you host an online event or a live stream. and then you meet everybody at like a pub afterwards,
Yeah.
or like a brewery or something like that.
Yeah, and you can have like a online event that's fully pre-recorded or, like done a couple weeks ahead of time, edit it, or just produce it as if it's on a live event and then just play that and it seems like it's live, it's simu-live. And then you're hanging out watching it and but there's people, it's like watching a movie, in my opinion, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Um, and yeah, so who we've seen this work for, like Startup Edmonton did this when
mhm.
I think it was still like in COVID times where it was still like kind of hazy. Some people wanted to leave the house, some people didn't.
Mhm.
Right. That way they got to include everybody for the one part of the event, then everybody that wanted to go out could.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
attending an event in a couple weeks. It's like this. It's like a networking event slash pitch competition, and they're doing, three. They're doing a live stream, and then the people watch, and then the winner's chosen. But there's food and drink at the same time, So
nice.
it's like pretty cool. I'm
Yeah.
not producing it yet, but I know the founder. I
Yeah.
produced a long time ago one of their pitch events, but I'm still involved. So
Cool.
but yeah, it's an interesting way to, and then you have these pitches online and it builds the brand online while also helping the community at the same time, So I think, when you start thinking about these things, it's like people who want to build community, they have to be able to think in hybrid format in that after party way, can you do two things at once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the beautiful thing about this, like the pub thing barely needs to be planned depending on how many people are planning to show up, right?
Yeah.
And so you totally cut out your venue cost, but
Mhm.
you still have a ton of the benefits of basically having a venue, right?
Right. And most pubs will, is depending on the night or a co-working space or like open spaces, they won't charge what an event venue might charge for a full day or half day to rent it
Yeah,
out and have multiple sessions and stuff like that. You're right. Easiest, lowest cost, most fun. I
yeah.
mean, we love the pubs.
Um, with the reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and tips for this one: make sure that people that are watching online can actually interact with each other during the show,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise it's not really a shared experience. And then you kind of like watching a TV show and then like going to a pub to meet other people who would watch the TV show, but you never got to see who they were or what they said or anything like that.
Yeah.
So making sure to use some kind of interaction software lets people actually start conversations. So they like, oh, I heard you said this, and like they have those like little networking sparks that
Mm-hmm.
can turn into conversation, right?
Yes. Buzz it specifically for that.
There's other ones out there, but that would be one option.
Oh, we're only talking about Buzzit here
Okay,
until we have another sponsor, maybe, which
there we
no,
go.
we
Yeah,
won't. The shared experience is really important in both formats, the hybrid or watching the online content, but also in person. What
right.
happens to the wallflowers who don't engage though?
Kick them out.
How do you know though? I guess like you must say something. Like if there was like
Yeah, no.
a little light, okay, I said something like then
For
I can
anybody that
see.
hasn't heard that episode, I had a full episode on being a reformed wallflower. So
Yes, yes.
making a joke about kicking myself out. Um, but yeah, just the more you can do for the wallflowers, all you can do is make it easier for them to, if you're using some kind of interaction software, then they can know people's names. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that was what did it for me, was just having something to say, because to the person, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't do well at networking when I just have to just jump into a crowd and randomly talk to people. But if I've
Mm-hmm.
seen people pitch something, or I've seen people present something, or seen people react in some way, that's that like conversation starter, that networking spark,
Right, right.
right? And so that's, I think, if you're intentional about setting up your event to have great networking, then you won't really have a lot of wallflowers.
Yeah, true. And I think it's the responsibility of the event hosts and or sponsors to talk to people who are not talking or like, you I mean that's how I feel like when I'm hosting an event. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go talk to that person who seems by themselves or wallflower, That that sometimes can kick off a whole new light in that person. Anyways, yeah. After party hybrid, that's my vote for this episode for
Yeah.
the format that I
Um,
love. Because
Easy to set up, super fun, lots of reach,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, so for next episode, 3 more to talk about. So exciting names. Oscar Party Hybrid,
Yes.
industry weeks, that's like the highest kind of level, maybe most complex, but and then collaborative conferences.
Uh, I am looking forward to talking about that with you because you are definitely more experienced with hybrids. But I think it'll be really informative for people if they are looking to do hybrid because it's not going away. So also check out episodes 5 and 6. We do talk a little bit more about. Is there
Like,
something?
yeah, why those are the 2 episodes. So why to live stream, and then why to live stream your in real life event, and then how
Mhm.
to live stream your in real life event.
Right.
So that has like tips and tricks on like getting it set up, etc.
Yeah, I should know the numbers by heart, but you know, I
Almost 20
don't.
now. How can you? We're going to lose it.
Yeah, cool. Well, how can we get more information on the Riz Pod?
Oh, we did bad at our CTAs. We got the one. So if you're interested in more, we do have a full hybrid doc outlining these game plans. So that like a white paper, you can get that at rizpod.live,
Yes,
which is our
and
website.
our website, and we'll have all the free resources and all past episodes referenced on the website at rizpod.live. So make sure you check that out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.